Fight Mike here. Today we're going to be discussing the UFC fight announcements that they released late last week. I've been gone for the last couple of weeks, had a little hiatus, a little break, but we're finally back. We've got UFC this weekend. I feel like I'm going through withdrawals at the moment. It's been so long since I've watched some guys throw down in their underwear. We have to see it, and I'm so excited. Dana White, though, last week was releasing some really big fights. He released Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer. There was Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa. Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. Marlon Vera, David Martinez, and Raul Rosas Jr. versus Rob Font. Some very big fights. I wanted to talk about them today. I know it was quite late, but as you can tell, I'm so excited for 2026. I'm finally getting some violence back in the UFC. Now, talking about these fight announcements, though, I was so shocked to see basically every single one of them. I was expecting the last two with David Martinez and Marlon Vera. I'd seen rumors of that one as well as the Rob Font versus Raul Rosas. But all of the other fights, didn't know that they were coming down. Really excited for them. I'll start off with the Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer. This one's happening in Seattle. Main event, 5-rounder. It's a very weird fight. Like, if you're looking at it matchmaking-wise, this is just like a very different fight, and not a fight that I expected to be taking place. But it's a good matchup. A very, very good matchup. I actually like when the UFC does this sort of matchmaking, where there's obvious contenders or there's obvious guys for either guy to fight, but they just drop like a massive announcement, making it like it makes it almost a bigger fight when it's so unexpected like this. I was surprised that Izzy wasn't coming up against like a Reina Dorito or Caio Borralho who are fighting each other. But I thought that was the fight that they were going to make. And to be honest, I prefer this one, because if I saw like an Israel Adesanya versus Caio Borralho, I would have looked at it and been like, yeah, good fight, but I was kind of expecting it. I would look at it like that every single time. And the thing is that I think that this is a bigger fight. I think that this is a more exciting fight. If I look at like an RDR or a Borralho fight against Israel Adesanya, we've seen them come up against high-level opposition before. And we can sort of like make guesses on how it's going to play out in our head, and it's probably going to be pretty accurate. Whereas a fight with these two, there's such different stylistic matchups in such different parts of their career that I look at it and I'm like, wow, this could go so many different ways. But the two ways I think it's the most likely of going is Israel is able to keep Pyfer at range, just really chewing up him with like leg kicks, maybe stinking it up to a decision and keeping Pyfer on the outside. Or Pyfer just brutally sleeps him out cold or like submits him out cold. Like, I could see either of those options happening, but I think the Pyfer TKO is more likely. Because looking at the way that Joe Pyfer's been looking recently, although he's not had the best performances, he's coming out there and making incremental gains each time. From the Gastelum fight to the Abus Magomedov fight. The Gastelum fight, he's just doing nothing on the feet for the last 2 rounds, really almost getting outpointed by a Gastelum, and then comes in there against Abus and just instantly goes out there, tries to wrestle him early, doesn't get the better of it, but then later on in the fight gets the better of it, getting the submission after dropping Abus. It's looking at Pyfer, he's just got so many ways of finishing you. And I think that if we're looking at Adesanya, I doubt he finishes Joe. I really do doubt he finishes Joe Pyfer. Like, looking at Adesanya, I know he's the guy that finished Alex Pereira, but that was an Alex Pereira cutting like 45 pounds to make a 185. And Joey Pyfer is really durable. Very, very durable. And I think even at this stage of Izzy's career, it's like his way of winning is by a decision. But then again, Joe Pyfer is going to be difficult to win a decision over, because early on, don't tell me that you don't think Joe Pyfer can find the chin of Izzy. Don't tell me that you can't see that, because you cannot tell me that the Israel Adesanya that we're seeing nowadays isn't susceptible to getting hit on the chin. Because Joe Pyfer is good at finding that chin, and Israel puts it right to the ceiling. So I think Joe Pyfer is going to have a very good shot. And if Izzy's trying to go out there and win a decision, how is he going to do that if he gets dropped a couple of times with a nuke over the top? That's my thoughts around it. It's like, it's going to be so hard for him to not get just nuked out cold. And Joe Pyfer's a real good finisher. If he does drop you, he's going to be able to find the next shots, and he's going to put you away or find the submission. And people are talking about Israel like he's still the exact same guy as before. They're talking about him like he is the same guy that was teeing off on on Alex Pereira at UFC 287 sleeping him out cold. Or he's the same Israel Adesanya that was leg kicking Jared Cannonier at range. Like, it's not the same guy. Not the same guy at all. And even then, that same guy was the guy that was going to a razor-close decision with Yoel Romero and Robert Whittaker. And if you're watching, the reason why I do say Izzy's lost a step is because I watched that last fight between Adesanya and Imavov, and I thought, whilst watching it before the KO, the whole time I was sitting there thinking, oh, this isn't the way that Izzy usually fights. Oh, he's not looking too good here. People were talking about it like, oh, but Izzy looked so good in that Imavov fight. In that round one, he looked real sharp, so he's going to be able to beat Pyfer. No, he did not. Yes, he has some nice body kicks. He's always had that. He looks so much slower. Saying the same thing about Volk versus Diego Lopez. The footwork that both Adesanya and Volk have is slowing down. The way that they pivot out of range and they change the angle and try to land some shots, it's not happening nearly as quick. And if Izzy's lost a step, I remember the real point that I saw this, the one flash moment that I see this happening, the moment in the Imavov fight that I saw Israel wasn't the same guy. And you'll remember this, it was Imavov, I think, shot a takedown. Israel defended it, and they were stuck up against the cage. And Imavov went to land some shots, and Izzy's got his back flat up against the cage. He's got his both feet facing Imavov, and he starts throwing these wide hooks in the pocket. Throws about 4 or 5 of them, back up against the cage, feet flat. Not in the sort of position, in the exact same position that Alex Volkanovski got hit by Ilya Topuria and got slept out cold. That exact position, Israel was scrapping in the pocket. You did not used to see that. You never used to see that. And think of how Alex Volkanovski got caught in that position was because he was stepping backwards and Ilya stepped through. It wasn't even like he was stuck there, scrapping in the pocket with his feet and shoulders facing directly forward. That is the position where if Pyfer gets you in, he throws a 2-punch combination with a left hook finishing it. He finishes Izzy out cold there. He does. And look, I know Imavov is a better boxer. He's more clean, and he was able to find the finish on Israel. But that specific position where Israel's dipping his head back, rearing his chin in the air, Pyfer's going to catch him there. And it's not like Pyfer's looks like the best guy ever, but this is also not the sharpest version of Izzy. And I think that this is the most dangerous fight he could have taken. I don't think Baralho's that bad of a fight for Izzy. Even though Baralho would bust him up with the jab, Izzy's got terrible defense against jabs. I think he's got more of a chance because Baralho doesn't have that one-punch KO power. Even against RDR, he's got the grappling over Pyfer, but Pyfer still has good grappling. But RDR's still got that rumbly-bumbly style. He can really get cleaned over the top. We saw Whittaker was able to almost chin him out cold in round 3. So I think that Pyfer is more dangerous of a matchup than both of them. Both of them. I could see Israel outpointing both RDR and Baralho on the feet. I really could. Whereas I could see him outpointing Pyfer on the feet, but it's only through waiting fire, getting dropped twice and losing 2 rounds and winning a 48-47, and that doesn't bode well. I hate picking predictions off of 48-47 because it's just one time it goes wrong. One time it does. So this is going to be a tough matchup, but I'm so excited for it. Moving on, though, to the next one, we've got Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa. Another really unexpected fight, but a very fun matchup. I just don't get why it's happening. I really don't. Paulo Costa should be staying at middleweight. He was literally booked to fight at middleweight 2 months before, and then he pulls out of the fight, and now he's fighting at light heavyweight. What massive of a difference had to have happened to where he pulls out of a fight 2 months later, he's back in, but it's at light heavyweight? Why does that even happen? They should be at middleweight. He's a great sized middleweight, maybe a little bit too big, but he's not as big as he used to be even. The Paulo Costa fighting Johnny Hendricks is a different one that's balding and fighting Robert Whittaker. That's a very different guy, and I think he could still make middleweight. He just got a win over Roman Kopylov at middleweight, so I don't understand why he took the fight. Well, I can understand why he took the fight. It's a massive opportunity. If he beats Azamat one more and he's in a light heavyweight title shot. But why does Azamat get the opportunity? Why does Azamat get this across his desk? Why are the UFC making this fight? Azamat should be fighting Magomed Ankalaev. Honestly, I've been thinking about that since the second UFC 321 happened. I've been wanting that fight since then. But I guess that the UFC sees this as like the big name opportunity before the actual big opportunity. So I kind of get the matchmaking, just because if Azamat does beat Paulo Costa, he shouldn't get a title shot off it. He could. Just due to win streak, I could see him getting it. But it's the sort of fight that lines you up for a Magomed Ankalaev fight. But I just think that Azamat deserved that already. Maybe not with all the steroid failures, like he's been out for so long due to steroid failures. So maybe not. But the way that I think this fight goes, I think Azamat gets not like a one-punch KO on Paulo Costa. I could see it being like well, it would be a one-punch KO, but not like a sleeping out cold. I could see it being like a tight left hook puts him down like Israel Adesanya did to Paulo Costa. I could see it being that exact same type of exchange, just without the leg kicks. But I could also weirdly see Paulo Costa outlasting Azamat, because we've seen Azamat later on in the fights just not be as good. We've seen that happen. I think it was an Alonzo Manyfield fight. Off the top of my head, I can't actually remember it very well, but I remember a fight where Azamat looked good very early, but then was gassing brutally late into it. And I think that Paulo Costa, he's got these mean leg and body kicks. That's going to work on a guy who's as chubby and tubby as Azamat Murzakanov, and I see him being softer-bodied. But then again, with that same game plan, and that's what Paulo Costa has to do, could see Azamat also catching kicks, going for takedowns. Paulo does have really good wrestling takedown defense, and I could see that being where he's able to wear down Azamat and get to him later into the fight. But also watching Azamat move in the grappling is very impressive. Even seeing how when Alexander Rakic was going for the takedown on him, how he was able to roll through the position and end out on top. It's very impressive what he was able to do. And Paulo Costa, I don't think he's got that same level of grappling. I think Azamat's going to be able to get this one done, either by a decision with some worry late or a KO. Moving on to the next one, though, we've got Gregory Rodriguez versus Bruno Ferreira. This is a big fight. This was supposed to be Bruno Ferreira versus Paulo Costa, but as I was saying, he literally just pulled out and had to move up to light heavyweight. But this is actually a rematch between the two of them. It was actually Bruno Ferreira's debut, where he slept Gregory Rodriguez out cold. I think it was in the first round. It was a very hard fight for both of them, where Gregory was having some success early, but Bruno was quite slick in that matchup. I would even argue he looked the slickest he's ever been in his UFC career in that fight. And this is a very, very hard rematch for both of them. Bruno is a very good fighter, and he has a great shot of beating Gregory Rodriguez again, and I think he has a good shot, but Rodriguez has been improving, and he's always going to be a tough fight for Bruno, because he towers over him. Look at him. He's the guy that should have been moving up to light heavyweight. I've been saying this for a long time. I think he'd be a very good light heavyweight, and he's just killing his chin by being at middleweight. But Bruno Ferreira is very small as a middleweight. Very, very small. And I know that could bode well for him for being the slicker fighter, being able to outmove and outdo Gregory Rodriguez. But it's also going to be so hard for him to get a win out of the bag, because Gregory is so massive. It's going to be hard to catch him because he's so tall. He's like 6'3", 6'4", and he's got a very long reach, and he punishes you when you come into range. But I don't think Gregory's going to be anything at middleweight, just due to that chin. You cannot catch him clean at all, because he's going to get KO'd. I even picked Roman Kopylov to beat him, which was a terrible pick in hindsight, because a big Brazilian who's got some power is always going to outmuscle and outdo the small, puny Roman Kopylov. But Gregory, I don't think he's going to be anything. He cuts way too much weight. He's got no cardio. He cannot put a pace on someone, and if you get caught clean, he's going to get KO'd. At the top of the division, that's not going to work. But in this matchup, I think he's still going to get it done over Bruno Ferreira. The Ferreira fight with Marvin Vettori disappointed me. I know Marvin's tough as nails, and you cannot finish him. Ever, for the life of him. It doesn't matter who you are. But I think he should have been able to school Marvin Vettori. Marvin's got a 1-2 and a leg kick, and that's it. And Bruno Ferreira, I feel like if he's going to outslick if he's going to outslick Gregory Rodriguez, he's going to have to show more levels to his game. He's had a lot of moments in his fight as well, but he needed to impress me more. He needed to school Marvin Vettori for me to have full faith in him. I'll move on to the next one, though. It's Josh Emmett versus... Lost my mouse. Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. This is a really good fight. I'm really excited for this one. There's no more to say apart from it's going to be an absolute scrap. One thing I have to say, stop giving Josh Emmett Apex main events. It doesn't make an Apex main event more fun when you see Josh Emmett's name on it. It's getting old, alright? It was getting old after the Ilia Topuria, Josh Emmett main event. Super hype before that one. Lerone Murphy, Josh Emmett. Killed my year. I never wanted to watch an Apex card after that one. Everyone was hating on Steve Garcia versus David Onama. Tell me you wanted to see that less than this. I know, to be fair, I never really understood, because I'm a massive Steve Garcia fan, I never understood why people hated on the Garcia versus Onama Apex main event. Just because it was God, I need to see some new guys, some new matchups in these main events. I feel like I've watched this 3 times over. Tell me Josh Emmett versus Ilia Topuria didn't feel similar to this before it happened. Kevin Vallejos, slick boxer who's very young, not proven too much in his career as of yet. Very dangerous matchup coming up against the really powerful orc of Josh Emmett. But stop giving it as an Apex main event. It doesn't make it better than now that there's 5 rounds of it. That's what I'm saying. 3 rounds of this and I'm more than happy. I don't need 5 rounds. But it's going to be a really fun fight. It's a good fight to see Kevin Vallejos' level. He should be able to bust Emmett up. And Emmett, if he gets the win over Vallejos, we're seeing that Vallejos isn't really the prospect that we thought. I know he can be hittable, and Vallejos has that granite, massive head. So maybe Emmett's going to be able to chin him out cold, but he's also super durable. We saw that in the Gene Silver fight, and Emmett's getting slower by the minute on the feet. He's 47 years old, and Emmett's never had good defense. He leaps into range, he swings his head first, and he's going to wear so much more damage. He's got that big white head of his, and it keeps just getting busted up more and more each fight. Each fight he's getting more damage, so I think that Kevin Vallejos is going to do the same, and I could see him winning a decision here. Now, I'll move on to Chito Vera versus David Martinez. This is going to be a good fight. I knew that this was going to be the one happening next, because Vera's been having some stinkers. You can't put him up against a big name after the last 3 stinkers that he's had. And Martinez burst onto the scene last year over a win over Rob Font, where he was looking really impressive. He reminded me a bit of Alexander Hernandez, if you know what I mean, with that outside erratic footwork, running away from his opponent, basically. But he's got really good cardio, really good power. He's got a really nice body kick. He's like a more slick Alexander Hernandez with less power. And I think that this will be a classic Chito Vera fight where where David Martinez is sprinting around at range and maybe gets dropped randomly in one of the rounds, but he's going to outpoint Chito Vera. Tell me that you can't see this happening. Chito Vera fights are the easiest to predict because you know he's going to stand at range doing nothing. You know it's happening. And it's still, you cannot pick him not to do that. So against a guy like Ayman Zahabi, you don't have a bad pick of picking him because Ayman stands right in front of him. But if you've got even then he still loses because he didn't put his foot down in the 3rd round. But maybe who can I think of who I could see Marlon Vera beating? I could see him beating a Cody Garbrandt. It's the perfect matchup for him with a guy who's going to run at him constantly, trying to beat him. I could see Cody Garbrandt schooling Vera up until first minute of the 3rd round when Garbrandt comes into range, gets clipped with an elbow or a knee coming in. I could see that happening, but apart from that, Chito just doesn't win fights. You got to be aged so far over, and even an aged Ayman Zahabi could get it done over him. It would be like if Josh Emmett came down to bantamweight. I could see him losing to Marlon Vera. Marlon Vera, I just don't see him winning fights unless he pulls off a win. And David Martinez, he's got a good chin. I don't want to say this, but he's Mexican. Those guys are built to last through damage. They're warriors at heart. And what am I going to pick Chito Vera to do differently against a guy who's going to run around outside of range and beat him with volume? What do I think Chito Vera is going to do? Stand at range, doing nothing, looking menacing. That's it. You know that's how a Chito Vera fight's going to go down. I always describe to my friends that the way that I spar is like Chito Vera with no kicks. Waddling at range, coming forward, looking all menacing, and then getting hit. That's how I spar. You want to see me spar? It's literally that. Waddling at range, no kicks, no leg kicks. It's Chito Vera with nothing but boxing. Throwing straight punches every 3 minutes and being annoyed that I lost the round. He is a glorified me in sparring, but just with some nasty kicks, but doesn't even use them anymore. His one danger, doesn't even use them. Doesn't use them at all. He used to set him up with body kicks and leg kicks. Now he just feints at range. You can't pick Chito Vera to win these fights. If he pulls it out of the bag, good, but he's not going to. That's it. Now, last one I wanted to talk about was Rob Font versus Raul Rosas. Now, look, Rob Font's a frustrating fighter. I thought he should have beaten David Martinez skill-wise, because David Martinez was coming in 5 days' notice. I think he was still booked to fight on the card, but wasn't booked to fight against Rob Font in his third UFC fight ever. Or second even. And Rob Font couldn't get it done. He couldn't get it done. It was terrible. But let me talk about this fight because I'm frustrated about more things about this. Because, you know when Whittaker was supposed to fight Khamzat and then Khamzat pulls out and then he gets gifted Aliskerov. And then for beating Aliskerov, Whittaker gets gifted Khamzat, who was ranked 10 in the middleweight division at the time. It's like, or when Sandhagen was supposed to fight Umar Nurmagomedov and then Umar pulls out, he fights Rob Font and then gets gifted Umar, who's ranked 13 in the division. I hate it when this stuff happens. Same thing here. Gets booked to fight Rob Font, pulls out a couple of weeks before the fight. Oh, look, Rob Font, I guess Rob Font lost the fight, so it makes a little bit more sense. But for Raul Rosas, it's like, oh yeah, you pulled out of a fight against a ranked opponent. Let's gift you with another ranked fight. Let's reward you for pulling out. No, we don't do that. You don't reward Raul Rosas for pulling out and then not reward Arman Sarukian for pulling out. I get it, slightly different situation, Arman 24 hours before the fight, but don't reward these guys for doing something bad. Arman Sarukian beats Dan Hooker, headbutts him. I get it, don't reward him. Don't reward someone else who pulls out of a fight as well. I don't care that he says chiwiwis and he's my age, 21 years old. I don't care. Don't give it to him. But let me talk about the actual fight. Raul Rosas should get it done. Font looked so weak against David Martinez. He looks like a puny, weak, soy-like guy out there. He was trying to wrestle against David Martinez, the ranked fighter, against a guy making his second appearance in the UFC. And he was getting out-muscled every point of the fight. And Raul's strong. He's very, very strong. You can't take that away from him. So he's going to be able to muscle around Rob Font, and he's going to get a finish on him in the grappling. So let me know what you think of these fights in the comment section below. As always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and a comment, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.